This is a Socialist News and Views special interview.
I'm Nick Schillingford, coming to you from the Urban Cabin Studios in South Minneapolis with this special interview. On Socialist News and Views, we let folks introduce themselves. Do you want to just tell our audience who you are?
Sure. Dziękuję Akira. Agus dziękuję Akira. Jest mi się Michał Callahan. Agus sha. Tell me in public. Ak Akarda. Ak. Ni in public mechanically. Ni. Tell me in public editact. Agus berbua Chakira la. What I just said to you all in the Irish Gaelic language, and this is, of course, rough translation, of course. I said hello to you, Nick, my friend, and also to all my other friends out there. My name is Michael Cavlin, and yes, I am a Republican. But I am not an American Republican. I'm a very, very proud Irish Republican, and with victory, our day will come.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. For the record, I'm also, for those of you, I mean, some folks will know who I am. I'm a registered nurse. I've been a trade union activist forever. And we're going to be talking about that, trade union activism. And the point of this for me is the attempts to squelch militant voices and how that is critical to not allow that to happen. So, and that's part of what we're going to be talking about. I'm a trade union activist. I've been involved in anti-war and social justice movement here in the Twin Cities for past 30 years. I was actually raised in Northern Ireland, and I was actually born in America, California, but I'm mother, father, both from Northern Ireland, and I was in Northern Ireland from basically from 1969 to 1984. I was there during the heart of the Troubles, and that's part of why I want to have this conversation, just to kind of share the an actual on the ground Irish Republican perspective on the issues of what Irish Republicanism is, fighting imperialism, and issues which is going to be so relevant to this conversation we're having, the issues of state, the state destabilization, infiltration, and how and why we've dealt with it, and what ways we need to look out for, and how to move forward.
Yeah, so so we're talking about this whole attack on Minneapolis, but of course we're talking about recently this indictment of 15 organizers here in Minneapolis or in the Twin Cities. So I'll admit I was just working on it, but I haven't actually read the full 94 page indictment in its entirety yet. But I read the immediate response from Workers Resist, which came out, and it said, quote, "The recent federal indictment of 15 Minnesota activists must be understood for what they are, a serious escalation in the government's effort to criminalize resistance to ICE operation, intimidate those who have stood up in defense of their communities, and to attack our basic right to organize," end quote. I believe the indictment was from June 11th, I think, but I think most of the arrests were on the 16th. How did you find out about the arrest that day? And, what's your understanding of what they're trying to do? What's going on here with these indictments?
Well, actually, for the record, I was actually in the courtroom during that whole thing. And I got to sit in for at least this. I was there specifically for some people who are friends of mine who were part of we're going to use the Irish term, lifted. Lifted is when you're arrested and charged with any sort of political issue. And I know a number of those people who were indeed lifted, and found out initially I'd heard 4. And the second I heard about this, I recognized it for what it was, and I blasted it out, with what little access I had. I put it on Facebook, called other folks, started making some calls and said, let people know about this. And there's actually kind of a fun story about the good outcome of all of us who did that. But that's how I found out. And then I went down to the press conference over at is 11 o'clock at the federal courthouse in Minneapolis, and then got the details about the actual hearing in St. Paul. I'd heard a little bit before that, even before I got there, but I got some clarification on that. And for the record, I want you guys to know this is that um, the government said that the hearing was at 2 o'clock. What they didn't tell anybody, and somebody found out about this and made sure that people knew, was that you had to be there by 1:30 or they wouldn't let you in.
Hmm.
So I found that out and I put that out as a blast as well. And I'd love to share this with you guys that then we'll talk about the wheres and whys. But um, I sat there in the courtroom and it was actually pretty funny because the judge started apologizing. He says, we were supposed to start at 2 o'clock. We didn't start to 2:30. And I want to apologize about it being late. But, frankly, we didn't know there's going to be so many people here. And of course, I got a good chuckle from the group. And the courtroom was packed, by the way.
Right.
And even with them doing that blocking thing, enough people heard that the courtroom was full, and there were people outside waiting to try and get into the courtroom as well. So that was a great thing. So I will actually.
Did the judge have any?
We'll talk about.
I was just
I'm
going to
gonna-
say, did the judge have anything else to say? I wasn't able to make it there. Did the judge have anything else to say as far as any thoughts or immediate reactions to anything, or was it mostly pretty procedural kind of stuff?
It was the whole start of it was procedural, and I actually had to leave early because
Sure.
I had a very important union meeting to go to afterwards. So I actually had to leave early. A lot of it was procedural. It was just a kind of a do you understand what you've been charged with? Do you understand your rights? That sort of stuff. And I will tell you that at one point, I mean, we know who we are as a people, right? And those of us who are in the courtroom are all the progressive activists in the cities here. And at one point, we got a couple of really good, solid laughs, and the judge was not happy about that. He kind of said, any more outbursts, and I will clear the court. So he was doing this whole sort of like judge thing. I would like to share with you, Nick, and for anybody else who's listening. I will actually do a little bit of pushback on the increased attack on us. The reason I say that, and I'm going to explain Republican understanding of the world that we live in. This is part of why I'm saying this. I would actually push back. I think it shows just how weak they are.
Yeah.
And how scared they are the fact that they're doing this kind of thing. This is actually a very good sign for us in the community. And the reason they say that is because, again, I'm going to talk about the concept of Irish republicanism, because so many people do not understand the core guiding principles of Irish republicanism. Because you're here in America, you hear the bastardized American version of that, and it is so far from what the American media and even many, Irish American groups will tell you what Irish republicanism is. The reason I say that is because I'm chipping away at the legitimacy of the courts. I'm chipping away at the legitimacy of the media. I'm chipping away at the legitimacy of the establishment and all those people who fight to protect that establishment, which is why I'm talking about the issue of making sure that militant voices are not silenced, because it happens all the time. But the fact is that there are, and this is kind of my point of this, is that there are more and more people losing faith in the system.
Right. Absolutely.
That's a good thing. That's a very good thing. That's a pre-revolutionary
situation.
It's the pre-revolutionary conditions that are starting to develop in this country, and so when I talk about this issue, this is why I keep on, and I'm going to speak from my own experience here in the past 30 years here in the Twin Cities on how militant and dissident voices are silenced and marginalized, often by our own community, and how it is critical to not allow that to happen. So I just want to put that out there.
No, yeah, it's true. So will you say it shows that they're in a weak position? I did see the press conference where they announced the charges and they got all those the media came in like pretty hot with questions right away. I don't know if that was like I can't remember who all the questions were coming from. So I don't know if that was like the media that was in the room. I think that was part of it, but like the media seemed to be like hitting them pretty hard. And then I was reading before this, Matt Sepik, John Collins, and Ellie Roth wrote for NPR on the 16th. And this is getting to one of the questions that was asked. Quote, in December and January, federal prosecutors charged 36 people, mostly protesters, with assaulting or impeding federal immigration agents. The U.S. Attorney's Office, however, has dropped 18 of the 36 cases entirely, including 3 with prejudice, meaning they can't file them again. Another 11 cases have been effectively dropped through non-prosecution agreements. At a hearing in April, Magistrate Judge David Schultz called one charging document from this series a false affidavit. End quote. Do you think these charges will be successful in their aim of punishing our neighbors and community members, or do you think the whole thing is just pretty like flimsy and weak from the start, or do you think this weak position is going to force them to use this a little harder? Or what's your perspective?
Well, again, this is all about reading tea leaves now, isn't it?
A little bit.
But as far as I'm concerned, it is absolutely showing how weak the current administration is, because they are extremely weak. They are trying desperately to kind of, now this is what the Trump administration is doing for some time now. It's like they'll put up, like the Iran war is a perfect example. We're winning the war. We're winning the war. And then they stop talking about it. And then it starts becoming, we're winning, we're ahead, and they continue doing this process to kind of shore up their image to the world. And that attempted that image in so many ways, the same way that the Israeli image is being decimated, is making a lot of people turn against what they're trying to do. So I think in the long run, it's going to fail miserably. They're going to try and push it. But I guess the best way to put this is that it's just like when ICE came. When ICE first came, everybody was scared, right? Everybody was scared, but then we started to come around. We started to wrap ourselves up. We started to get organized. And here's my whole point again. And it wasn't the people who were doing the standard gatekeeping on the left. That needs to be said. It wasn't the standard gatekeepers on the left saying, we're going to have a protest, and we're going to have a sign, and we're going to put up a sign, and we're going to chant, and we're going to blah, 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 blah,
Sure.
And nothing comes of it. It was actually people organizing, and there was this beautiful, organic, I wouldn't even say leaderless. There were some leaders in the thing, but as overall, it was like very much of an equal. Every voice is heard, every voice is respected, and just go do your thing to stop ICE. And that's what actually developed from this thing. And that, for me, has been the most important message I want to get out to, not just here in Minnesota, because we know that in Minnesota, but to the rest of the country, to let people know just how effective this was. Are they done? Of course not. I mean, of course they're going to come back. It's called a counterattack. It's standard military stuff, or counterinsurgency, whatever term you want to use. But the fact is,
Oh, you froze up a little bit there, or one of us, we froze up a little bit there for a second.
So did you, sir. So did you.
Sorry.
So anyway, so did you get that last bit that I said?
No, just repeat yourself there. Just
oh, good Lord. Make me
not the whole thing, just that last little bit. Yeah.
No. So the point being is that this beautifully organic movement came that wasn't being gatekept. It wasn't, a march and a rally where, you get to have the anointed speakers speak, where they get to give and this is my point now, when I talk about why militant voices should be allowed to be heard, is that it wasn't just these anointed rallies where the anointed speakers were the ones that were acceptable by the establishment.
Sure.
And their message of the establishment was acceptable. That wasn't what this was. It was we, the people ourselves, making our own movement, and it was absolutely beautiful. And that's the message I want to have the rest of the country, and quite frankly, the world, to hear.
Yeah, I guess I agree with that. That's good. I was just gonna say I guess what I was wondering is, Trump is kind of putting all these charges out there, which are not particularly well orchestrated or whatever you want to call it. but like, will the courts go along with this at all? And I guess my response to that would just be, the more people that come out to support, the more people that are like coming out to show that we're not backing down in the face of ICE, the less likely it is that any members or elements of the court will just kind of go along to get along with the Trump administration's BS at any point in this process. I don't know. Is that how you see it? Or I mean, I don't know. Just
Mokara, if I may, I
yeah,
want to absolutely respond to that.
yeah.
I'm now officially putting on my militant hat.
Okay,
Okay,
good.
yeah, no, yeah. So what the administration does, and the people who are gathered around the Trump administration does, and the bootlickers for the Trump administration, including many Democrats, that has to be said. Okay,
Yep.
it doesn't matter what they say. Okay. We don't care what the Trump administration does. We care about what's going to happen in the very, very near future. And we're talking about when they're putting us on trial. I'm talking about when we start putting them on trial.
Mm.
We start having ICE agents on trial. The murder of Renee, the murder of Alex,
Yep.
the murder of all the other people who've been murdered,
Mhm.
including those folks that white folks don't talk about. When those people are actually put on trial, and I'm talking about mass numbers, I'm talking about tribunals. If the political establishment that comes into power in the next election does not start to do that, that means that by definition, this is my point here, is that if they do not start putting these people on trial and tribunals and actual consequences for these people,
Right.
if they do not start doing that, that means that by definition, this is my point of being an Irish Republican, that means that their legitimacy is lost. It is then time for the militants to be able to stand forward and say, I don't give a rat's ass what you neoliberals say. We're going to do this anyway ourselves. And when we start to do that, we start to create our own courts. This is what we did in Ireland. This is central to the Irish struggle for the Irish War of Independence. We didn't go to British courts. We created our own courts. And if we have enough of a groundswell, enough organizing, and enough having solidarity with each other and listening to each other moving forward, we can create our own courts, because the current legal system right now is not credible. It does not give justice. And if they don't give it justice, we will create our own justice. That's the militant in me speaking out.
No, it's very fair. And I think you hit the nail on the head there. I think a lot of people are feeling that way, that, that they want to see something done. Speaking of institutions that lose credibility, some trade unions are speaking out somewhat. But why aren't like the trade unions as a whole doing more? And how are we going to make them do more, or will they ever be able to play that kind of role in the way that they should be?
Oh, okay. No, absolutely 100%. In fact, quite frankly, the hope I have now is that the trade union movement is going to step up to the plate.
Okay.
This is why I keep on talking about this issue, and I'm going to give my own experiences.
I
And
hope so
anybody
too.
is a trade unionist. I want you guys to hear what I'm about to say to you guys, okay? Right now, I've seen so many times where anybody who's a trade union person is speaking at something, if they support the establishment, and I'm talking about the political establishment, right?
Mm-hmm.
If they do that, they're given the microphone, they're allowed to speak. There's no attempt to curtail what they're saying. Okay. I have seen this happen so many times. And as a trade union activist, I have to say this. Oh, by the way, I should say, by the way, I would like to say here, officially that I do not speak on behalf of any union, committee, or organization. I only speak on behalf of myself. However, I do proudly speak on behalf, this is the more part of this conversation. I proudly speak on behalf of the rank and file who are often not heard or listened to or respected by trade union bureaucrats. I speak for those rank and files who agree with the principles and ideas of what I'm saying. Now, somebody who's an establishment hack doesn't have to say that.
Right.
If you're a militant, you have to say that every time you open up your mouth. And there is something so wrong about that. And and I'll give an example. I'm going to give an example. I was at one of those little parades or rallies at the Capitol. It was the No Kings, one of the very first No Kings rallies, and we had a meeting at the AFL-CIO's headquarters.
Mm,
And I'm involved in my union. I go to the headquarters there, yada yada yada. And they did have people who did their speeches and your standard, we're gonna go with the written class, you're gonna go together, yada yada. Pretty word, lots of pretty words, right?
yep.
Um, then at that point, then the microphone was opened up, and there were trade union folks were like going, "Oh, I'd like to speak." And we had one guy, Paul, talked about his issues. He's asked me as I remember, anyway, he's one of the union folks, and he did his little thing. And I got up to the microphone myself, and I said something to start off, and I said, I did my standard. I do not speak of a union committee organization, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And I started to speak some truths. And I started, there you go. There, you get that laugh right away. Say, oh my God, you start telling truths. Some
don't like
folks
that.
make that uncomfortable. Too bad. And what I started to say was that we need to recognize that this country is racist to its core.
Mm,
That's a controversial statement, apparently, with some union folks.
I think it is.
Well, of course it is. How many of the rank and file agree with that? That's my point.
Right.
And I started to say, and I started to just to speak on that, and I'm not going to say names, but it is a top union leader literally snatched the microphone out of my hands and was like, kind of like, you're done talking, right? And I was so angered by that because the whole point of what I was going to say was I was going to say we need to recognize how racist this country is, that we need to recognize that even within the trade union movement, because that will actually break down solidarity, and we need to start getting together and talk about organizing a general strike. That was the point of where I was going with this little speech I had in my head.
Right.
And this union leader snatched it out of my hands. And I'm an Irishman. I don't take things like that very well.
No.
And I just said, I basically said, you know what? To hell with you. I don't need your microphone. And I started speaking to the crowd. I said, you guys, we are in crisis right now in this nation. We need to start talking about, as a union movement, start to talk about organizing a general strike. And the crowd loved it, is my point. But one anointed leader,
Right,
who was put there for whatever reason, was the one that snatched the microphone on my phone. And I will tell you this, and I'm not going to name names here, even though I really want to. I don't think it's appropriate to do that, but because it's a general principle here, is that after that, I had one of the very top leaders of the AFL-CIO basically threatened to have me kicked out of committees because of doing that, for daring to go up against this leader and say what I felt is the right thing to say and what's within my heart and what I firmly politically believe. And this thing that goes on in trade unions all the time. And I will say to all my comrades out there, start standing up for folks who are being silenced and marginalized within the trade union movement. Just like in the same thing, start standing up for folks who are silenced and marginalized in the anti-war movement, who say uncomfortable truths. In the pro-Palestine movement. By the way, I gotta show this you guys. I gotta rock this, you guys. I finally got this. We're looking for it's a keffiyeh with the Irish flag colors,
Nice.
the Irish flag color, the trade colors. I just got this, and
Very
I'm
nice.
rocking this proudly. Anyway,
No, very
Little-
nice. I was just
little
looking at
sidebar.
the chuff.org, the legal defense fund for the MN anti-ICE organizers is at 188,000 of the 250 right now. And at the
Wow.
end of that, it says, these are not just arrests. This is an attack on our neighbors, coworkers, family, and friends, an attack on
Yep.
anyone who stands in solidarity with them. This is an attempt to intimidate us. We have to show the federal government that we stand with the defendants and with each other. The 15 defendants are facing serious charges and have a long legal battle ahead of them. I really appreciate you speaking with me. Is there anything else that you want to say, about this ongoing battle that we're facing, about the trade union movement before you go?
No. Yeah, I guess my only real thing on that is, and I keep on talking about militant voices being silenced. Okay,
Right.
And even for those folks, I'll put this into an American perspective. Okay, if you have, why did white liberals listen to Dr. King? Is it because they thought his message was great? No, he was pretty clear on that himself. What made him even be willing to be listened to was the threat of a Malcolm X. The only reason that King became even be able to be heard is because of a threat of the Malcolm X's of the world. And those militant voices that say uncomfortable truths, that make people uncomfortable and question and look, that's what allows the Dr. Kings of the world to be heard. So for the love of God, allow the Malcolms or the Fred Hamptons or the James Connollys, my own personal North Star of the world, allow them to be heard and allow those voices to be spoken of, because that's what pushes us forward. It's agitators are critical. I'm a damn good agitator. I am. I'm really good at it. Um, and I'd say that with pride. And does it make people unhappy? Yeah, that's the point. You make people unhappy with the current system so they are actually willing to fight and change it. If you keep on shutting down those militant voices, only allow the more softer, more moderate voices, that softer, moderate voice will then be pushed to the right itself to appease the establishment. That is why it is critically important to not just allow, but encourage. And quite frankly, and I'll just say this from personal experience, I should support people who are willing to speak up and speak truth, even if you're uncomfortable with those truths. Those truths need to be heard so that we can all move forward as a society.
And become one of those militant voices too.
Well,
In your union. There's another
that
one.
is
And
the
that's
goal.
like, well, I really appreciate your time, Michael, and I really appreciate the chance to speak with you.
Yeah, thank you. I greatly appreciate allowing me to speak. By the way, I will say this before we go. I've been in this town for 30 years, and I've really felt really politically maligned and kind of like, sidelined in many ways. It's just I'm just being truthful here.
Oh,
I have now got a group that I love this. It's a group that actually welcome me in. They allow me to speak. They allow me to speak to the group, for Christ's
right.
sakes.
What
They
an idea.
respect my views, um, and they welcome me in. And even when I speak some uncomfortable truths, even within the organization, they hear that and they listen to that. And that's the DSA,
Well,
Democrats of America. And I have critiques of the DSA. I do. But they allow me to say that, and they hear that, and they take that in as part of their broader over collective. We should be allowing voices in, even if it makes you uncomfortable, because maybe these uncomfortable truths need to be heard to make us all better. So,
yeah, I'm a member of the DSA as well, although I have not been very active. I'm also on the board of Mayday Books now,
oh,
as
cool.
of like a couple days ago. So,
Oh,
uh,
oh my God. Congratulations, I think.
thank you. Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
Very great to talk. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Nick, so much, man.
And that's our special interview. Thanks for tuning in. Solidarity.
This has been a Socialist News and Views special interview.